Hello everybody, this is Make It Better, and today we're doing What If Izuku Was a Celestial, Part 1. Before I start, I'm very sorry that it took me this long to start up a new video, a new series. If you want to complain, go for it. I'm not gonna hold it against you. I had some issues about my mental health and other stuff that's out of my control that I couldn't even handle at all. So with all that said, thank you for staying with me and the new people that's watching, my new followers, new subscribers. Thank you, and let's get into the video, shall we? Also, I'm trying to get used to this rhythm of putting up videos again. All of that said, I need to get used to this. Izuku gets back home after a few months has passed in school, and by this time, everybody has their quirk, but Izuku. Izuku asks his parents if it's okay to show his power to his class. They say no. His father asks him, why would you want to show your power to your friends or to your classmates? What are they doing to you? He, he he's pointing into, man, this is a long time. But Izuku said, no, nothing like that. It's just, you know what? Never mind. And he gets back to his room kind of nervous. And, well, he thought about the day before. On everybody taunting him, making fun of him, telling him that he's the worstest Deku. But when he tells everybody what a Deku really means by his parents, everybody laughed at him. But worse, they keep saying that he has no power, no use to the world. And he wants to show them the power, but his father keeps telling him no. And he's just stuck in sitting on his bed in his room. The very next day, Izuku's in class playing with his fingers. Well, finger painting is a series in the class, and he's somewhat in the corner because that's the only place that kept all the other kids away from him for the time being. The moment that the two guardians are watching, it start to leave to do something else. By this, Bakugo comes by with his explosion quirk and do the same hand motion that he did in high school. That very first episode on what we see of Bakugo really like, exploding Izuku's paper, getting it all over the classroom, and pushing Izuku back. By this point, he is getting really tired of Bakugo being a bully, and he tells him this, but Bakugo doesn't care. He wants to show this little Deku, the nobody, who's boss. And about 2 punches in, Zuku is bleeding from his nose, covering up his face, and then someone in the back room, back of the class, just start to laugh and put in more comments, and then they start to make fun of his mother and father maybe being also quirkless, and that broke Zuku. Zuku, I'm still figuring out what kind of emotion or what he's gonna have to act like upper time, so this is all new. So he said, "Fine," Izuku said. And everybody looks over to Izuku and says, "Fine, fine. Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you my quirk, my real power." As he turned his right arm fully, it started to turn into black. And then it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it becomes 10 times bigger than Zuko. And everybody's amazed. This is what they see that. And they are amazed to see a huge cannon, a big, that they can see the inside of. And something is forming, getting bigger and bigger to a point where it's almost the same size as a cannon on the inside. And Zuko was about to fire until the Guardians come back and ask Izuku what is he doing. And Zuko looks over to them while he's still holding onto his arm and saying, sorry, I didn't want to show you. As it goes back down, almost into a flash, back to his little arm. The classroom is shocked, and the two Guardians goes over to Zuko and ask him if he knew about his quirk. And Zuko said, "Yeah, I was born with it." And he was putting his hands all together as if they were cold, and starting to get scared that he might get yelled at. But the two teachers, Guardians, appraised Izuku for keeping it a secret and making sure it was safe, because most kids would always show it off but never thought about the repercussions of it. So Izuku is surprised by this, and Bakugo is getting a little scared because he was looking down in the barrel like he was the target. And he gets a little shaky, and well, he pissed his pants. But no one acknowledged that. And then some of the kids that wasn't getting pointed at start to clap and say and appraise Izuku with his power, his quirk. And what is it called? And Izuku says star, which everybody's and the Guardian saying star, but it didn't look like a star. And Zuko said, "Oh, sorry, and he started to get his twitch of talking too much to a point where the Guardians give up and tell him, "It's okay, you can name it whatever you want, as long as you have a quirk and you'll be helpful to the class, right?" And Zuko said, yeah. Later down in the day, Zuko was going home with his father, and it looked like his father. They're holding hands, and looked like his father is somewhat serious. Looked like he's mad, but he's not holding Zuko's hand as tightly as he should be when he's mad. So when he gets back home, open through the door and see his mother, his mom, on the table, and then Zuko was taken to the table. She looks over to him and then asks what happened. At this point, his armrest came up. The little cat bear. I will decide to call him Damn it. I still don't have a name after all this time. His name's gonna be Fanta. Not because I was drinking it, but I figured it would be something colorful. So I go with that. Sashi is not asking Fanta anything. He looks over to Fanta and tells him, "Not you. I want it from Izuku." Izuku looks he's twiddling his thumbs looks at his mom, which she seems kind of serious and seemed like she was crying a lot. And he looks over to his dad, and he tells him that he used his power in class. And Isashi said, "Oh well," which Izuku said, "Huh?" Isashi said, "Oh, you think you were going to get in trouble?" And Izuku said, "Yeah, I thought I was going to, get in trouble for going against your rules." And Sashi said, "No, I didn't mean that as a rule. I just asked you not to do it too soon. But now since you showed everybody your quotation marks quirk, it's time to train." And Inko looks over to Isashi because she really thought that Isashi is going to yell at his son, their son. But this turn of events, she's kind of confused, and so she asks if how is Isashi gonna train Izuku? And Izuku looks over to his dad and his mom on what's going on. Isashi says, when you activate canon, as you put it, he tells him the original name and the origins of it. He asks him, how big was it? And he knows exactly what's gonna come out of his mouth. Zuko said it was really big, like it almost filled up the whole classroom. Bigger than me, even. Which Inko has never seen the weapons because Isashi never wants to show it off. And Zuko Isashi asked Izuku and Inko to come by, outside, in their yard. He looks around, makes sure that no one's watching, per se, and he grows out the cannon in its full size. And it's massive. And Zuko saying, "Whoa," and Inko saying, "Oh my," as she holds on to her necklace. Sorry, it's just one of those things. Isashi demonstrates and lifts it up like it was nothing, put it down slowly, and then when it finally rests, it makes an indent. And then he retracts it back to his arm. Isashi explains about their power more in detail. And if you train your power even more, instead of being a full cannon like I showed you, it can also be like this, which is just growing his arm out, being 2 times the size, but just as strong. And Izuku looks at it and sees it so cool. And he touches it and it's really hard and cold like real metal. Inko even mess with it as well. And Isashi asks Izuku if he wants to learn how to do this, which Izuku said, "Yes, I want to control it. I want to make it better. Can I show it to my friends too?" And Isashi said, "No. Let's keep it a secret, okay?" And Izuku and Inko are confused on why they had to keep it a secret. And Isashi tells them that the best superhero is the one that gives the best secrets. If he just let out his full secret, let's say like All Might, if he told everybody exactly how he saved everybody in the world and the country and the state and all the people, no one will give him mystery, but also what's the fun in that? Which they're still confused, but they go along with it. Which Isashi kind of sighs. Okay, how about let's move back to topic. So Izuku, do you want to control it, right? And Izuku said yes, and nodding his head up and down, uh, very aggressive to a point where when he stops, he feels dizzy, which it gives a chuckle to the parents. And Sashi said, "All right, so here's the schedule," and he gives him the schedule after a few hours. So going on for the few weeks, months, and years of training Izuku of, well, controlling his power. And it took 5 months, or even 6, just to make his cannon arm even smaller, to a point where it's just like Isashi's. And after that, he was focusing on the other three. Yes, he is working on the other three. I do have pictures. I'm not gonna show them because what's the fun in that? Now, after the few years of training with the four, he looks over to Fanta and asks him if he can teach Izuku on the other four, other six. Which Fanta said he can, but it'd be a little too dangerous. I don't want to do it on a 10-year-old. I don't want to do it on my little Izuku. Which Isashi said, I get that, but I know a few ways on making sure that that won't happen. And Fanta thinks about it, but he has one more question on where should they test him. Isashi was about to say at his home until Fanta say, "This is not my true size. Remember, I'm massive. I'm bigger than this house. You need to find a spot where I can test Izuku and give him the next level." Which Isashi thinks about some areas, and all of them are not good because they have a bunch of people in it. So he needs to work on that. 2 years passed. Izuku is 12 years old, and he still has the four, and he's getting really good with the four. He's starting to by this time he's starting to fight against his father, and using his equipment all this time is reinforcing most of the powers, and canon is just getting stronger every day. And by this point, even to a point where Zuku accidentally made the bullet itself sharper, which Isashi was surprised with that when he made a wall. When it hit against the wall and it finally fell, the the bullet itself just looked sharper in some ways, and even by the touch, he has his finger was bleeding, which Izuku was surprised about, and Isashi was amazed, and started to realize that Izuku, since he's half celestial and half of something else, of a human with some other quirk, that Izuku's power is evolving, or is capable of being evolved into something better. So he keeps that in his mind. A few more days passed. He's still getting bullied in school, but not as much. And it's mostly just by Bakugo, as now he's just trying to push Izuku to use his quirk more, to prove it that he's really strong. Stronger than Izuku. But Izuku keeps pushing his Bakugo back and tells him that it is against the rules. And some incidents have been happening that Bakugo blames Izuku for something, but other people in the class go against Bakugo, and so all this happened. So Bakugo is bullying Izuku, but most of it is not affecting him. And since Izuku is more brave, he's not going to be fully affected by the bullying as much. But he does not see Bakugo as a friend anymore. I had a point. Where was this point going to? Anyway, Zuko was in his classroom and he's taking a few tests. And when he was finished, he was called upon by the teacher, and the teacher tells Izuku that he was sent to the office, called for. And the kids in the classroom hears this and saying, "Ooh, he's in trouble," and all of that other stuff. And they wonder what Izuku did to get in trouble. When Izuku gets over to his principal office now, the principal asks and tells him that he's being called over by his parents. Something came up and they're gonna come here and pick you up. So get all your stuff ready and go. Which Izuku is a little confused about, but says okay. He goes over, pick up his stuff, and he just gives the teacher a note saying that he's being called out by his parents for something. Which the teacher said okay, and Izuku leaves, and saying goodbye to a few of his friends, around 5 of them, in that classroom. He gets picked up by his parents, and they're walking over. Should I say they have a car? Yeah, let's go with it. They do have a car, and they're driving over to their house, picking up a few stuff and some snacks. After this, Izuku is wondering where they're going after 10 minutes of the highway. Isashi and Inko doesn't really speak about it at this moment, but they do giggle a bit, and Izuku's getting a little more confused, and he asks Fanta if he knows anything about it. And Fanta said, "You'll know when we get there. But be quiet, I need some sleep. School is so boring." And Izuku agrees, so he goes to sleep. After 2 minutes of sleeping, they made it into a parking spot, and there's nobody there. Izuku wakes up and sees his parents taking all the stuff with them. And Izuku asks what's going on, and they say, "We're going camping for about 3 or 5 days, maybe a week." And Izuku said, "Oh, cool. This is so cool," as he looks outside and see the trees, the birds, rabbits. I know what is in the tree. I just want to make it where it's more abundant of nature. He sees some flowers. He's playing around. And he's going around the trees until they made into a clearing. And this clearing is huge. Almost, I'll give it an acre. If you don't know what acre looks like, it's about a full house with a backyard and a front yard. 4 of them, all intertwined to each other, and that counts as an acre on the outside area. So that's how big it is, but it's more in a circle. There's some rocks, boulders, a bit of plants around, but it's big enough. Tsuku looks around and thinks this is so cool. His parents tell him to come over because they need to put up the tents and a hammock, some beds, and a campfire. After everything is settled, it's lunchtime. Yes, that whole time was for lunch. When everything was settled and they have their food, you saw it's become silent in the forest, which Izuku gets a little nervous. Like that, quiet. And he looks over to his mom, which she's still eating, but he looks over to his father, and his dad stands up and ushers Izuku to come up, and also tell Fanta to come out. Fanta comes by and flies over to Isashi and put himself on Isashi's shoulder, on his left shoulder. Izuku looks over to them, and they're walking over to clearing. And Izuku is looking at this, and he was about to ask a question but Isashi tells Fanta to grow to his true size, which he does, and it just maximizes to become huge, gigantic, And Zook gets a little scared because he never saw Fanta in his true size. And he kind of gets a little closer to his father and tries to hide behind him. But Fanta tells him that it's alright, Izuku, as he gets even closer and closer, where his face is right almost 3 feet away from Isashi and 5 feet away from Izuku. Izuku gets a little scared by this, and some tears are going down, and Fanta said, "Fine, fine. I'm just playing around." He feels a little bad that he made Izuku kind of cry a bit. So he changed his voice back to the smaller one, the high and squeaky voice. And say, "Is this better?" And Izuku nods his head yes. And he looks over to Isashi. Fanta asks Isashi if I should explain or should you. And Isashi said, "I'll explain." As Fanta is now cross-legged and his hands are on his knees, and he's just watching them as Isashi explains what Fanta's gonna be doing. Zuko was shocked to hear that he's gonna be eaten, but even more shocked that he's gonna be learning how to awaken his other stars. And Isashi tells him this one rule: when you're done with the test and you see that, and when Fanta tells you that you need to come out, you listen. I do not want to hear that you stayed for the next test. You can, but that's not the point. The point is, I need you to come out at that moment when you're done. Okay? And Zuko nods his head yes, but gets a little confused on why he had to tell him that. So Zuko stands in front of Fanta and saying, "I'm ready." Which Fanta said, "Oh, I never thought I had to do this, but I mean, sure." As he picks up Zuko on the shirt with just his index finger and his thumb, picks him up, look at him right in front of his face, open his mouth up, drops Izuku, and Zuku goes down, sliding down the esophagus through his stomach, and when it's turned black, he appears in a room. Now Fanta is the only one to talk to him. He gives him a simple test, but a test no other, on awakening number 5. Isashi is on the outside. Inko saw what just happened and was crying on why, and towards Isashi on what did you do? Why did you let Fanta eat him? I thought we were just testing him for a bit. And Sashi said, "We are." And then he realized, damn, I forgot to tell her. As he looks over to Inko and saying, "Calm down, I will explain everything. Let's eat some marshmallows first." Which Inko wants the marshmallows, but she's more worried about her son, which Isashi explained everything. Even more detail about the beast itself. Now, Inko thought it was just a quirk animal that was a mixture of a fox, dog, cat, rat, and some kind of bat. But now she's learning it's a part of his world, up in the heavens of sorts. After that, a few minutes pass by, and Inko asks a question about Zuku and how long he's gonna be there. And Isashi said usually it takes about half a day, almost dinner time. But mind you, it's almost dinner time. And Isashi said the test can be fulfilled from in between 24 hours or the very next second. I don't know. Not sure how good our son is. And Inko asked him why just 24 hours or a whole day. And Sashi said, well, by that point, he doesn't want to get in trouble, so he's not gonna say anything. So he say, actually, I don't know, but it never happened before, so we don't need to worry about that. One time, he actually kept a secret from his wife, which will be his downfall. Anyway, but he is getting worried, and he asks Fanta if how's the progress, and Fanta tells him tells him nothing really, because right the moment he was about to speak, Izuku is spit right out, and when he's out, flying out of the tongue onto the ground and covered in spit. After a while, he gets up and realizes that he's covered in spit, so he's trying to squirm, roll on the dirt, and just take off the thing as he's saying, ew, ew, gross, gross, ew, ew, gross. And Fanta is just laughing because it's entertaining to see this. But Izuku finally finished, and Isashi asked him if he's done, which Izuku said yes. But can I get a bath or a shower? This feels so nasty, as he still feels slimy. And by that point, it's they only stay there for 4 days, and training Izuku with the four and now the fifth, along with his style. And it's mostly berserk, but a tactician mixed in. Zuko's going fighting against his father, and now with his new ability of number 5, it's getting a little challenging, to a point where Sashi has to now go out of his way and go and find people that has a quirk or have a weapon of that same type to help teach their son on how to fight. So that would be a new thing. So after all of that has happened and they were leaving, they were going back to their home. Zuko's now tired by all the week and that all the training, the fun, the playing, and just the new experience of camping outside, that he got tired and fell asleep throughout the whole drive. During this drive, Inko is just talking Isashi about a bunch of normal things until money came up. And Inko kept asking Isashi on where he gets the money because she knows what he's doing. He's a newspaper analyst. Basically the one that worked on the newspapers. And Isashi just kept telling her it's okay, we don't need to worry about that. But Inko is just like curious if it's illegal, if Izuku ever asked something like this. And he looks over to his son, making sure he's sleeping, as well as Fanta is actually sleeping on top of him. Well, not really top, that Zuko's just crushing him as a teddy bear. And Fanta can't move. So he just looks over to Zuko and Isashi and mouths out the words, "Help me." And Isashi kind of chuckles and looks over to Inko, thinking if he should tell her. And since it's been a long time of 12 years with Izuku and a few years, it should be long enough to tell her exactly where he gets the money. So he does. And Inko, after hearing this, saying, "So you're telling me that since you're a celestial, that you just make money?" You can see why I'm not convinced, right? And Isashi said, "Yeah, it seems far-fetched, but compared to everything else that we can do, are you really surprised?" And Inko said, "No, but is it like the yen or your type of currency? What is it?" really. And Isashi just hold out his hand, focus on it, and a little bit of a glowing light came out. And it just showed a coin. But when Inko touch it and grab onto it, by this point they're already at home, but they're just staying in the car park. And the car is still running. And she looks at it and it feels heavy. And Isashi saying that is pure gold coin. We the Celestials use pure gold, platinum, diamonds, and just make them into coins, and those are our currency up in heaven. And she said, "Whoa, can I keep it?" And Isashi said, "No, that's our rent pay for this week or this month." And Inko kind of looks down, but it's so shiny. And Isashi said, "Okay, I'll make you something else, but not this. I can only make this in a week, once a week." Which Inko said, "Okay, but it looks like he's waking up. I'll take him into his room." Which Isashi said, "Okay, put all the stuff. I'll put all the stuff away, and good night." As she said good night, and they give a little kiss. Now, with all of that said, I believe that'd be enough for today. I want to keep going, but I know I have a time limit on a few things. With all of that said, thank you for listening. Have a nice day, and yeah, that's basically it. Alright then, bye.